Notre pays produit suffisamment de quoi nous nourrir. Nous pouvons dépasser même notre
Our country produces enough to feed us all. We can even produce more than we need. Unfortunately, for lack of organization, we still need to beg for food aid. This type of assistance is counterproductive and has kept us thinking that we can only be beggars who need aid. I am asked, where is imperialism? Just look into your plates. You see imported corn, rice, or millet. This is imperialism. Let's not look any further. Who in this room does not wish to see our debt simply cancelled? If you don't, you can take the first flight to go and pay it to the World Bank. It's our common wish for our patriotic struggle, for our radiant future, our homeland or death. We will win.
We could start the show by saying that, Joe. Just saying. Literally like that. Hey, did y'all hear Mr. Ed Markey? He won the election.
Mr.
He beat that Joe Kennedy III.
Ed Markey, still winning.
Senator.
Still winning after all these years.
The time we get up to the sacred cod.
The condemned cod. It's not the sacred cod.
The profane cod.
I mean, the fact that we have like a 5-foot long cod hanging above the well of the Massachusetts House of Representatives, I think is like the perfect summation of how weird we are as a state.
Fish.
Hey, no.
We like
Kennedy
fish.
did win Worcester, or wherever the fuck he called it.
Oh yeah.
Joe, why does it say live next to your name?
Because he's still streaming the frickin' results.
Oh, yeah?
That's
I'm not going to watch it.
Okay.
Shun
I'm
you.
gonna stop watching it also.
It's really more for my own amusement at this point.
Ideology.
I was literally just thinking about that. Trying not to blurt that out.
You're still a little teeny bit quiet, Jesse.
You're quiet.
Yeah, I think it's because you changed channels.
Am I actually? Or are you just being contrary?
Is this better at all?
Yeah.
Is this better?
Yeah.
Yes.
Is this perfect?
What? I heard.
Douche. I'm ready. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Scott.
Yes.
Sound off. Ellie. No.
Yo, were you fucking ready, or are you just playing with this map?
I'm ready. I'm just listening.
Are you here, Joe? Are you with us?
Here? Where are you?
Eyes front, young man.
Damn, you really thought that was funny, huh?
So do we want to start with the primary results, or...
We've been recording for like a while, so you can just, whenever you feel the urge.
When do we want to go into your topic?
Whenever you want, dog.
Oh yeah, do you want to do Sankara before the music thing, or the music thing first? Scott.
What?
Scott, you decide.
What is the music thing?
The pandemic, the songs about the pandemic thing that I'm gonna do.
Yeah, no, do that. Do that first. Yeah. Okay, start the episode with the funny thing I said about the election, and then go into Ellie. So
you already said it, or are you gonna say it again?
What? That Mr. Ed Markey beat Joe Kennedy? The election? That?
He's now up by 10 points.
He's fucking won already, Joe.
It's an abridged electoral epoch.
This is the
Cool.
That was it. He won. Did you know, folks, there was an election today? Ed Markey won. That's your electoral epoch for this episode.
It hasn't been officially called yet, but it's likely to happen.
Now just have like a 15-minute outro.
Okay, great. Ed Markey.
Yeah, you summed it up.
I'm eating a sandwich and it's getting fucking everywhere.
I
I should probably start doing that now.
Hear and see the things on the screen.
Can you hear and see them? These are not the things that I want you to see. The things I want you to hear and see are... It is.
So recently switched to recording on Discord, and as you can see, it's growing pains.
Did you guys hear and see that, or at least hear that?
Yes.
It was lagging a bit, but I could hear it.
Is that Shufan Stevens?
This is a
Shufan Stevens.
What?
Squirrel. Just let her eat the sandwich. I don't fuck care. Just let her eat the sandwich.
Oh my god.
Okay, great.
So is that Shufan Stevens? I'm just kidding.
No.
You can make this shit up with Tom and
Ellie. So basically, a couple of weeks ago, or no, it was last week, I think. No, it was like 2 days ago. I was... I'm not going to do this until the sandwich is gone. Oh, now my own cat is yelling at me.
I will grab the vacuum, I guess.
Lisa Globe spelled his son Lucky's name right, even though she's getting crushed.
Owned by cats.
My cat went away. I don't know what's happening with Jesse's cats.
I give up. Squirrel's eating my sandwich, which is fine. I don't care.
I love that the New York Times is freaking out that no one's voting in Boston.
Oh my god, Jesse, you're gonna have so fun.
You're gonna have so much fun editing.
Yeah.
Christ.
All right, you ready? Okay.
I do actually have one last thing for electoral. The race to succeed Kennedy, after he gets his ass handed to him. Currently, it's unlucky is getting crushed. She's getting 9% of the vote. The person who is in the lead is a woman by the name of Jessie Mermel. She is the former president of an entity called the Alliance for Business Leadership. And the first, DuckDuckGo results at their website. And the little blurb about us is, quote, the Alliance for Business Leadership is a nonpartisan coalition of CEOs, entrepreneurs, investors, and business leaders at all levels who have one thing in common. We believe that social responsibility and the sustainable growth of the Massachusetts economy go hand in hand, end quote.
What does social responsibility mean?
I don't know, but she was endorsed by Ayanna Pressley, so seems a little less than ideal.
Little sus language being used there, but
in NA we say social responsibility does not equal recovery.
Social responsibility, is that of corporations?
I feel like that's supposed to mean that Joe Kennedy is just conceded.
Yay!
Fuck that guy. That guy sucks.
Bring out the sacred cod!
Fuck yeah!
Get it.
You heard it here live, folks. You heard it here first, folks.
Yeah, you definitely didn't hear it here live.
One randomly selected Massachusetts resident.
You heard it here 2 days after the election.
One randomly selected Massachusetts resident will not be selected to paddle Joe Kennedy with the sacred cod that currently hangs in the well of the Massachusetts legislature. I hope it will be me.
Vinny's fucking wants that ham, yeah.
So, the other day, I was in my car listening to the radio, and I haven't been in my car much for the past couple months, and that's the prime time that I listen to the radio. So I heard this song, and this is the song that I heard.
Panic on the brain, world has gone insane, things are starting to get heavy. I can't help but think I haven't felt this way since I asked you to go steady. Wondering, would you be my little quarantine, or is this the way it ends? 'Cause I told you my level of concern, but you walk by like you never heard. You could bring down my level of concern. Just need you to tell me we're alright, tell me we're okay.
And I freaked out because I was like, shit, this is the first song that I'm hearing to explicitly reference the pandemic and the fact that the world has gone insane. But it's a catchy love song. and I freaked out and I told you guys about it. And Jesse pointed out that like it's definitely not the only and not the first song to reference the pandemic. And Jesse, I think you even mentioned your own song by Contingents, Revolution Not Reform, if I recall, which you all should check out on Jesse's SoundCloud. Yeah,
that is correct. Thank you.
Your song is like more of, it's definitely much more about like the state of the world in general besides the pandemic. Like it's a very like explicit left-wing, like it's about revolution. It's not really just about the pandemic, but it's a good song. But you prompted me to realize that like there will probably have been other songs about the pandemics that have come out since the pandemic started. And even actually the song that I just played is called Level of Concern, and it's by 21 Pilots. And apparently it came out, I believe, even in April. It's not new. It was just new to me, and I freaked out. And I don't know, but this is like a moment that I want to look at. I want to look at how we are finally reflecting this new era back into our pop culture. And I was like, well, what do we got? And fortunately, the Associated Press at the beginning of May put out an article called 40 Songs About the Coronavirus Pandemic. Listen here. And so I checked it out. I didn't listen to all of them because 7 of them were just things they had included that were written before the pandemic, but they were like, oh, it resonates, whatever. I was like, no, I don't want that. I just want something that's been written during the pandemic. So most of what I found was like most of the songs on the list were written either completely like explicitly for charity or, you know, some of their proceeds were going to go to charity. So I think that's worth considering when kind of like looking at them. Part of why Level of Concern just like really rocked me was that, you know, I looked it up and they are giving some of the proceeds from the song to a charity for like, I believe workers who get like gig workers it was an industry thing. It was like an industry charity, but it also just is like a song that they wrote and put out and it's part of their career. The Billboard wrote about it. 21 Pilots' quarantine anthem Level of Concern brought the indie duo back to a level of distinction. The top 40 of the Billboard Hot 100. The song debuts at number 23 on the chart this week, and that was in April. I guess April 25th is like when it came out. And it said, Tyler Joseph and Joss Dunn conceived the song during and about the COVID-19 pandemic, which bemoans their rising anxiety levels and cries out for a sign of reassurance over a happy-go-lucky disco-tinged beat, which is like, to me, the whole reason that I even like wanted to talk about this was I wanted to look at all these songs. I wanted to look at like, I understand that I think all of these songs were written with partially the intent to be like, hey, we're having this experience together, like, and to like kind of like reach out to other humans that hear it and be like, yes, this is happening to all of us. But even within that, I feel like there's a lot of like variance, there's a lot of levels, there's a lot of like everyone's experience is still different. And also there's this issue of like tone. The Level of Concern is great because to me, it's great because like it's sort of co-opting language. It's like making references to the pandemic and to the fact that like the world is completely fucked, but making it about like a relationship. It's like a poppy indie song about a relationship. And to me, that's just like, wow, that's the whole thing. Like when I was like, this exists now, holy shit. But anyway, enough about that song specifically. I'm going to share a few other ones from that article that I thought were like kind of fun to look at. Most of them, a lot of them were actually really like heartfelt and genuine. And there seemed to be like this tone. It was like feelings, and they were more like about feelings, like very earnest. There's a match between the tone and the content. And there was a lot of different genres. Like there's this country song by this guy, Luke Combs. And, you know, like country is often very heartfelt and genuine to begin with, like very earnest, and there's a lot of like people taking shit seriously. So, you know, this is Luke Combs' 6 Feet Apart is the song.
I miss my mom, I miss my dad, miss the road, I miss my band, giving hugs and shaking hands. It's a mystery, I suppose, just how long this thing goes. There'll be crowds and there'll be shows. There will be light after dark someday when we
that's very sweet, obviously. That's very like a typical country song. This is kind of a subject matter that I think lends itself to a genre like country. There was a gospel song called Come Together, which is by Rodney Darkchild Jerkins, and just like a ton of apparently pretty big gospel artists. I don't really know that much about gospel, but it's definitely another genre where like things are very earnest and there's a lot of like talking about God. There was like a lot of God in the country songs that were on the list too, but this was like, you know, in a gospel-y way.
I don't know about you, but I believe in a God who could use this. I believe the children's still the future. I believe a God who renews us. I believe if he parted seas, this disease gotta bow to the ruler. So many young constantly dying from the hand of disease, taking breath from their bodies.
So that one's like, yeah, very explicit. Like, you know, that's what's going on. This is a shitty, big, epic thing that's happening to the world right now. And so a lot of people are turning to their faith. A lot of people are not really like us who sit around and we're like, oh, we're fucked. Like, that's what we do. Some people can't do that. They need to like have hope and like hope really hard about stuff.
I can't help but feel like that's directed at me a little bit.
I guess I was probably thinking of you, but I was thinking of all of us. You're usually the first guy. You're the first guy to say that we're all fucked, but then we usually agree with you.
I am the accelerationist. I mean,
yeah, that's true. Anyway, so like there was that. There was a lot of songs that were very earnest and like made kind of sense to me in terms of like being a song about, you know, this is how we feel about stuff, this is what we're doing, yada yada. And then there was definitely this subset of like, you know, you started getting into this territory of things that felt a little bit more probably earnest, but also they feel a little more contrived, like kind of like, oh gee, I'll jump into the ring too and write a song about the pandemic. And the next few that I'm going to share are definitely, it was mostly like boomer white guys. And I think all of the ones that I'm going to share are for charity. But so that's like definitely worth considering, but also this level of like lyrical contrivance that I was starting to see was kind of interesting. Like here's this is John Bon Jovi, and this is called Do What You Can.
They had to cancel graduation. It ain't fair to skip the prom. Our kids at home in isolation. TV news is always on.
It ain't fair to scap the prom. And then you got, so Benjamin Gibbard of Death Cab for Cutie is not a boomer per se. He's just a white guy. I don't know why I lumped him in here with those guys, but he wrote a song called Life in Quarantine.
Because he was boring.
He's not boring. My partner really, really likes...
Agree to disagree.
He looks just like you, Scott. You look like Ben Gibbard. You guys have
Crooked
the same
Teeth
style.
was my jam when I was like a freshman in high school.
Yeah, that sounds about right. High school was, for me, was when Death Cab was getting big. And I actually I've never really been like super, super into them, but I do really like them. They have a lot of stuff that I enjoy personally on a personal
The photo album or nothing.
Well, anyway, here's a little bit of Benjamin Gibbard's song called Life in Quarantine.
Inside the Safeway, it's like the Eastern Bloc. People have a way of getting crazy when they think they'll be dead in a month.
It's like the Eastern Bloc. Very on brand for Benjamin Gibbard. Mike Love. Okay, this is a little bit of a longer clip because I just couldn't pick a part that was the best. And I hope you guys will be able to see this video. It's kind of cute. They did kind of...
It's a new Mike Love song?
Yeah, it's
Okay.
Mike Love formerly of the Beach Boys. And also, for some reason, John Stamos is playing drums on the song.
No, that's actually kind of funny because I've had a Beach Boys song stuck in my head for 3 days.
Oh, really?
I don't know why. I think this is just a side effect of living with like 75-year-olds.
I have very strong feelings about Mike Love, but I'm not going to get into it. But
Oh, really? I didn't know that Mike Love was a Beach Boy, but this is very kind of
A
cute.
world where he wasn't would have been better. Anyways.
Okay, all right. Scott's got opinions.
Why don't you tell us how you really feel, Scott?
Mike Love is a talentless hack, and he sucks. Anyways.
Well, listeners, you can definitely take that opinion and see how you feel about this song, which is called This Too Shall Pass.
We all remember when school is out was a cause for celebrations. Nobody ever even thought about closing down entire nations. Washing hands and wearing masks, and it's not even Halloween. Shaking hands is a thing of the past due to social distancing. People are wondering how long it'll last. As the saying goes, this too shall pass. Well, I believe the best is yet to come. So let's get back to having fun, fun, fun in the sun.
So it makes sense to me that, like, Mike Love knows how to write one kind of song. He knows how to write a Beach Boys song. And it's like, here's this happy, fun, boppy song with, like, some Barry sax, and John Stamos on the drums. And, you know, it's about a pandemic that's killed, like, how many people now?
8,000 in Massachusetts alone.
There's something very Craven to all these songs. But I will say it's not as bad as the phenomenon of on YouTube of people making parody songs about COVID.
Oh, just you wait, Scott.
At least these are original.
Fucking wait. I'm not even done yet.
Before we move on,
Boy.
is there any, like, how the fuck did John Stamos end up in that? Do we have any clues?
I did not do the research to find out why John Stamos is there. Probably he's friends with Mike Love. If you guys want to Google it, you're welcome to.
Yeah, I was about to say rich people friends.
I like the mystery, yeah.
I was like, who's that guy? Oh, it's fucking John Stamos. I don't know. It's super weird. In a very similar vein, Mike Campbell, who used to be in Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers, may Tom Petty rest in peace forever. He wrote a song called Lockdown, which is, you know, it's a Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers song.
Yeah, I'm keeping my distance, at least 6 feet. I'm microwaving everything I eat.
I don't know why he's microwaving everything he eats, but I guess that's
because it kills all the microbes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you got real easy.
He's like wearing
or just paranoia.
Yeah, you know, I'm closing, locking my doors, and never leaving my house, and wearing a tinfoil hat. Who knows? I was definitely gobsmacked to see that Randy fucking Newman decided to write.
Fuck yeah, dude. Randy Newman.
Right? And it's actually a pretty good song. It's definitely like a Randy Newman song.
And you thought Mike Love brought out the vitriol.
No. Shout out to Randy Newman. Shout out to Randy Newman for shaping my piano learning experience.
Really?
With the song Short People. Yes.
Oh wow, that is a Jesse factoid right there.
Short people.
My mom used to sing me that song, or not sing it to me, but she would sing it whenever we talked about someone being short, and then she would be like, "But short people are actually good and have many reasons to live," and I'd be like, "Oh, okay, thanks, Mom."
As a short person, I agree.
The irony is that Randy Newman himself is very short, but obviously there's no visual confirmation of this when you're just hearing the lyrics for the first time. So
yeah,
rest assured, he is not bigoted against short people.
Also, the chorus is from the perspective of a person who doesn't like short people, but it, like, the chorus reveals that the guy's like a know-nothing, like, asshole. So
yeah,
it's a pro-short people song.
He's written some pretty clever, some pretty well-crafted songs.
I love LA, the same thing. It's extreme irony. It's about like the homeless population and shit.
He's real big on that. So his quarantine song is kind of It's weird because I only used a small clip for this, but the whole of it is kind of like he's sort of talking about stay away from me, keep your distance, blah, blah, blah. But then it also seems like the rest of the song is just addressed to like his probably female companion who he is now like stuck in his house with. And he's like, oh, I'm such a lucky man. And he calls her like Venus in sweatpants. So it kind of goes back and forth between like stay away and we're stuck together. So it was sort of incoherent, but it's cute. It's a cute little Randy Newman song. Check it out. It's called Stay Away.
Stay away from me. Wash your hands, but don't touch your face. How you like that?
How do you like that? Anyway, so the final subsection of all of this, and this is why I told you to just fucking wait, Scott, is that there was a bunch of artists doing parodies of not only other people's songs, but also their own songs to be about COVID. And this is where things got like extra weird, or I thought they did. Like for starters, you got Alicia Keys was on The Late Show with Stephen Colbert and decided to rewrite My House by Flo Rida, and it's definitely a very Stephen Colbert audience directed kind of song. Let's check it out.
Cauliflower gnocchi gone from Trader Joe's. Man, couples headed now having Scorpios. There's a lot of that. Please be very careful with the Clorox wipes. You know, some fools, they flushing them down the pipe.
So yeah, as you can hear, if you're having sex right now, your baby's gonna be a Scorpio, and also definitely directed at people who can afford to shop at Trader Joe's.
Yes.
So that's that. The kind of star of this little subsection was Todrick Hall, who you may or may not know is a pretty acclaimed queer artist who does kind of, I think he was a host of RuPaul's Drag Race for a little bit, and he actually did a whole album called Quarantine Queen, which featured a few both original songs and parodies of his own songs, such as he had a song called, I think, Nails, Hips, Heels, something like that, which he rebranded as Mask, Gloves, Soap, Scrubs. And I have to download it from the iCloud because it got automatically uploaded. Here we go. All right.
Mask, gloves, soap, scrubs, TikTok, Grub, Hub, Twinks, Jocks, Bears, Cubs, Zoom is the new club. 6 feet, no hugs, still beat these mugs. Sick beat, cut a rug. Joe Exotic is a thug. Kitty cat, tell me Carol Baskin, where is the husband? Everyone's asking. Stimulus check, everybody better cash in. Mask and gloves, yeah, that's the new fashion. Girl, what did that girl just say, girl?
So he's definitely, he's referencing Tiger King, and it's a very ordering from Grubhub. It's sort of a general wide appeal kind of thing, which makes sense. It's kind of clever. But there was sort of an unexpected gem. I was checking this album out, Quarantine Queen, and I discovered that one of the songs is called Rent, and this is how it goes.
Hi, this is Rachel from the leasing office, and we've noticed there's been a lot of noise coming from Unit 301, a lot of partying, a lot of mess, and you haven't paid your rent yet. Can someone please give us a call back? Because at this point, I think you guys need to leave.
Dear landlord, girl, I think you must be bored. Saw your notice on my door, but I tossed it on the floor. See, Miss COVID came and shut us down, so it's our time to party now. So ma'am, I'm saying this as nice as I can. Fuck the rent. I just got fired, so you ain't getting the cent. And that stimulus check they sent already spent. Oh girl, I said what I said, and that's what I meant. Fuck the rent. Cause I'm staying here, but honey, I'm not paying. You ain't getting my money, what I'm saying, I say it again, fuck the rent.
Yeah, so after that, I Googled immediately.
I legitimately liked that.
Right? It's a good song.
Dude,
so
just get out. Just leave.
Is this Rachel from the leasing office?
We're not friends anymore, bro.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So immediately, of course, I had to be like, is Todrick Hall a leftist? Like, what is this? So I Googled it, and I got no results at all. Except I did get some results, in fact, so last fall, Insider was reporting that Todrick Hall has multiple accusations against him, including of not paying people who have worked for him, among other things. So that's too bad. I suppose he may be a sort of, I don't know. I could go off on a whole rant about like how there's not enough access to trauma treatment, and queer people especially become like, have this tendency of becoming like really toxic and like unable to be, practice solidarity even with members of their own community, but that's a whole thing for another day. Anyway, the last thing that I found that was really just amazing to me was so Gloria Estefan, in all her glory, decided to do her own COVID song, and she did a parody of a song she had written many years ago called Get On Your Feet. This song is Put On Your Mask, and I think that to our listeners, you should definitely look this up on YouTube, because it's kind of just Gloria Estefan like in front of a green screen, and she's like riding a horse at some point. It's just a lot, and it's really something. You guys will get to see it right now. It's definitely a Gloria Estefan song, and it's definitely about COVID. Here we go. Put on your mask.
Put on your mask when you go out in public. Put on your mask. Help save the world from COVID. I know it's true. We're all going through this nasty virus. We understand if we wash our hands, we can't survive this.
I just love the scene where there's the backdrop is just like the COVID microbes, and she's sort of frantically spraying some kind of disinfectant. It's great. It's a great thing. So yeah, that's how the world is now. This is the thing that is happening. I'm Ellie, and you can't make this shit up.
Quickly interject with like breaking electoral news. DSA endorsed Erica Uterhoven, won her primary for the 27th Middlesex district.
Go Erica Uterhoven. Woo.
Snap.
Also, Boston DSA endorsed candidate Damali Bideau is winning with 61% of the vote, with 68% of the vote counted in the second Suffolk House district as of about 10:30.
Cool.
Also, Helena Flantis did win her primary, so it's all turning up pretty good tonight for us.
Oh shit! Looks like the race in the 17th Middlesex is a lot more competitive than I would have expected.
Oh, this is the hell of a view right here.
Oh yeah, check it out. I'm just trying to figure out how to turn it off.
This is a segue. Now it's time for something new.
You do it.
We're doing this.
Do you want to play Freebird? Are you sure?
Okay. So, I'm going to be talking about Thomas Sankara, who was a Pan-African Marxist-Leninist revolutionary, and he was the president of Burkina Faso from 1983 until his untimely death in 1987. And I feel like it would be wise to start with defining Pan-Africanism. If I could sum it up as briefly as possible, it is an ideology and movement rooted in the struggle to liquidate imperialism with the aim of uniting and liberating all Africans. And the term's common use is generally attributed to W.E.B. Du Bois, Massachusetts born, and his active role in the 5th Pan-African Congress. And he initially described his long-term vision through this Congress as not race war and opposition, but broader cooperation with the white rulers of the world and a chance for peaceful and accelerated development of black folk. So this might get a little bit confusing when I refer to Upper Volta and Burkina Faso, because when Sankara was appointed to the presidency, he effectively changed the name of the country. So I tried to keep it linear in that I refer to it as Upper Volta until Thomas Sankara and the rest of the nation refers to it as Burkina Faso. So Thomas Sankara was born in 1949. My cats I don't know what just happened, but they attacked each other. So Thomas Sankara was born in 1949 into the city of Yoka in the former French colony of Upper Volta. And his mom was Masi, and his father was Masi Fulani. And Masi, or More, is a population of about 6 million people indigenous to West Africa, and the seat of the Big Lord, or the Moro Naba, which is the highest position in the Masi feudal hierarchy, is located in the capital city of Ouagadougou.
I think it's Ouagadougou.
Ouagadougou.
Don't quote me on that, but I think that's what it is.
I'm going to quote you on that because you're going to be in the episode. And the Fula, or the Fulani, is an ethnic group that's dispersed across Central and West Africa with a total population of, by most metrics, over 40 million. Sankara was the third child of 10, relatively fortunate. He had access to pretty good education and amenities, and his dad was a gendarme. Hi. This is Jesse in post. Gendarme is what I was trying to say. Not gendarme, which is essentially an armed officer, but separate from civilian police that functioned as an extension of the French military. So his parents were priming him for Catholic priesthood so that he would have, like, you know, a decent status in the existing colonial apparatus, but he decided to join the military at age 17 instead. At this point, Upper Volta had just gained independence from France in 1960, so Sankara got to witness Upper Volta's first president replaced by coup with a military regime in the year 1966. And Sankara himself attended Kadiogo Military Academy in Ouagadougou. The academic director there, Adama Touré, secretly taught a handful of the most gifted and most politically engaged students, including Sankara, the history of imperialism in and against Africa, and held some discussions on, like, the Soviet and Chinese revolutions. Sankara went to Madagascar at age 20 on a scholarship for officer training at a military academy called Ansarabe, and in Madagascar he witnessed uprisings against the Siranana government in 71 and 72, which kind of galvanized his revolutionary spirit and inspired him to study military tactics that he would be able to utilize to liberate his own people. And importantly, he also studied agriculture, which was became integral in his shaping of policy for self-sufficiency for African people. And I'm sure Joe could probably go on and on and on about this, being the historical powerhouse that he is. But basically the whole history of what was at this time in the narrative Upper Volta, France basically had Africa in a chokehold, and the military and government had control of natural resources, means of production, and they used this power to basically push the colonized people into massive debt. And Upper Volta was landlocked, not super fertile for crops, but had a lot of minerals, and the forests were cut down for lumber. And Sankara would, during his presidency, become focused on the production and consumption of African goods, specifically Burkinabe goods, over imports, so that his people would be able to become self-sufficient and become liberated from the dependence on the colonizers. And this, in the spirit of Pan-Africanism, he said that he wanted to keep pace with external development without losing African identity. So at Ansarabe, he started reading Marx and Lenin, and this built the sort of foundation of his ideology. So that was like his sort of childhood and the experiences that him and his people had, and now I'm going to get into his rise to power. So in 73, he graduated from the military academy, fought in a brief border war with Mali as a lieutenant, and he sort of earned a reputation in Upper Volta, like he had the valor, but he would later renounce the war after developing a deeper political consciousness. Became commander of a training center in Po, Upper Volta, continued to study and train abroad, and it was in Morocco that he met Blaise Compaoré, who would become his close friend and second in command, and eventually lead the coup that would result in Sankara's appointment as president, as well as the subsequent coup that resulted in his murder. So yes, this is a tale of betrayal, probably one of the most significant betrayals in anything that could be considered recent history.
That to me is like the heart of this whole story. of Sankara's whole story, and I told you guys already, but I would really love to see like a narrative fiction film about the relationship between these guys and their band and everything.
It's a very strange dynamic. Like, I'll get more into it, when I get to that point in the sort of story that I'm telling. But yeah, very weird. Like, they played together in a band called, I think it was like
Tuliku Jazz.
Yeah, Tuaku or something. So yeah, they were homies. So Sankara formed this secret organization called the Communist Officers Group with fellow officers. He was appointed Minister of Information in 1981 under Colonel Zerbo's military government. But unlike his predecessors, Sankara supported free press and backed investigative journalism, including into wrongdoings by the government itself. And he resigned the following year due to the administration's opposition to labor organizing. A separate group of officers ousted Zerbo a few months later. In November 1982, Sankara briefly served as prime minister to Jean-Baptiste for being dismissed and later arrested. And this dismissal sparked outrage, especially amongst younger officers who looked up to Sankara. And in May 1983, a group of armored vehicles circled Thomas Sankara's residence and blocked him in. Sankara had in the meantime fled to Po, and he was channeling momentum into an operation to free Sankara. It led to a standoff between opposing military factions, but it gave the left wing time to establish ties with some of the locals and build popular support. And after almost 2 months, rumors started floating about an attempted assassination of Sankara, and Blaise Compaoré seized this opportunity to take power from Jean-Baptiste. And on August 4th, 1983, a coup, which was backed by Libya and led by Blaise Compaoré, saw the JBO regime overthrown, and Sankara was thereby appointed president of Upper Volta. The conservative French-run colonial apparatus was thereby dissolved and replaced with a new government entitled the National Council of Revolution. And on the first year anniversary of the succession, Thomas Sankara renamed the country of Upper Volta Burkina Faso, which means the land of incorruptible people, or the land of upright men, in the native languages of Moray and Dula. So he enacted some of the most incredible policies, but also policies that were very specific to the economic and cultural situation that Burkina Faso was in. First off, infrastructure, environment. He wanted food, housing, education, and medicine for everyone. And so one of the things that his administration is most famous for is he managed to get 2.5 million people, mostly children, vaccinated for polio, measles, and meningitis over the period of about 1 week. And that program holds to this day the world record for the quickest rollout of a vaccination program, and it also earned Sankara some praise from the World Health Organization.
So Sankara would have handled this COVID shit pretty quickly?
Yes. Correct. And I don't think it's a coincidence that Sankara had strong ties with Cuba. He nearly halved the infant mortality rate, nearly doubled school attendance. Literacy rate increased from 13% to 73%. Again, a lot of parallels to Cuba. Planted over 10 million trees to combat desertification of the Sahel, which is like a semi-arid ecozone between the Sahara to the north and the Savannah to the south. It was an area in northern Burkina Faso. And Sankara utilized his knowledge of agriculture to basically develop fertile land for the farming operations that would take place. Because, I mean, prior to that, the French were primarily interested in exploiting cheap labor, basically slave labor for, like I said, harvesting lumber and mining for resources, specifically gold, and manganese was another big one. Sankara also oversaw a bunch of brick factories were built for a massive housing program with the objective of ensuring that nobody would be relegated to living in the slums anymore. He also started a program entitled The Battle of the Rails, in which over 430 miles of rail were laid by the Burkinabe without any foreign aid. Also oversaw the construction of a nationwide network of roads, suspended rural poll taxes and domestic rents, and converted the army's provisioning store into Burkina Faso's first public supermarket. Now, he was not just he was also an SJW. Let's just put it that way. So under the tribal and neo-colonial social order, women were basically second-class citizens. Thomas Sankara abolished gender-specific regulations as to establish universal human rights. And by that, I mean he banned female genital mutilation, forced marriage, and polygamy. He promoted contraception and encouraged women to, prior to that, they couldn't participate in work or school. It was like an unspoken rule, I guess. Definitely a relic of the tribal social mechanics. So he encouraged women to participate in work and school, even if they were pregnant. I mean, if they wanted to. And also asked men to start practicing like work formerly assigned to women. Like he would say, why don't you go to the market? Like, why don't you make that trek? It's not fucking easy work. And learn how to cook and do all that.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds dope.
Yeah, he was. He also appointed a lot of women to his cabinet and actively recruited women into the military. And he had a badass security escort that was like an all-female motorcycle crew of Burkinabe women.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah.
Do you know what they were called? I want to like Google pictures of them.
I don't know what they were called.
They were called fucking badass and rad.
You heard it here first.
And this was all in like the 60s, right?
No. It was at the beginning of his presidency, so 83, 84.
Okay.
I mean, after the coup, as soon as he took power, these were the policies that he enacted as soon as he possibly could, basically.
Okay. So they were kind of had previously, it sounds like there was still a lot of tribal influence, and they were
absolutely. That's the next thing I was going to get to. So the tribal leaders, who basically functioned as feudal landlords, were stripped of their power to profit off of the land and forced labor. And this land was distributed amongst the peasants, sort of harkening back to 1917. Anybody? And this was the beginning of Burkina Faso's transition into agricultural self-sufficiency. And within 4 years, Burkina Faso was producing enough cotton and wheat to have a national food surplus and enough locally produced clothing for all of the citizenry, as well as to be able to have exports. And he actually required civil servants to wear traditional tunic, woven, sewn, and tailored by Burkinabes. But I mean, most people had, still had like spare casual outfits that were from, Western clothing manufacturers. But it was a good, they tried. It's the thought that counts. And also it was amazing for the economy. He also gave children the opportunity to participate in like training and education through something called the Pioneers Program. And in speeches, he brought to light the shortcomings of religious doctrine as like a moral framework, because it didn't empower the underclass to sustain itself. And he, in his 87 speech, talked about how there needs to be two versions of the Bible and the Quran, because basically the promises don't manifest the same way for the ruling class and the underclass. He also kind of entirely overhauled justice and defense. He established what was called the TPR, People's Revolutionary Tribunals. So the People's Revolutionary Tribunals was a system of courts that was completely open to participation by the Burkinabe working class. And he also set up later in the administration committees for the defense of the revolution, which was like a Red Guard comprised of younger officers that would sort of gather intel and mediate quote-unquote anti-revolutionary conflict. And so these the popular courts, the TPR, they were initially set up to put former officials on trial for misappropriating funds and harming constituents. And the citizens wanted explanations for the policies that they had enacted, which would be basically a public testimony that was broadcast to radio and TV. And the sentences that these people got were very light. It was more a method of public scrutiny and humiliation rather than trying to punish the people by taking away their freedom. And this sort of impromptu justice system was initially embraced, but cracks started to show in the foundation as corruption and opportunism to settle personal grudges kind of crept into the courts. And like I said, the RDC started, basically they were doing too many like searches of people's personal property. Here's all the really cool shit about Thomas Sankara, like aside from his policy, including policy, but just as a show of his solidarity, his humility, and his integrity. At the 1983 General Assembly of the United Nations, he said, "I wish to speak for all those, the forgotten, because I am a man and nothing that is human is alien to me." And what I'm about to say will demonstrate that. So he sold the previous government's fleet of luxury vehicles manufactured elsewhere, obviously. And he made the official government vehicle the cheapest locally sold car, which was the Renault 5, which was what he drove. He banned officials from first-class air travel and having vehicle chauffeurs, slashed all government salaries, starting with his own, and at his time of death, his possessions consisted of the $450 a month salary, one car, a Renault 5, 4 push bikes, a few guitars, and a fridge with a broken freezer. He forced the wealthier civil servants to put salaries into public projects. He had been in a jazz band with Compaoré, like I said, but he himself wrote Burkina Faso's new national anthem.
Did you mention the air conditioning?
It's in there. Yeah, he refused air conditioning because he said it was a luxury, only available to society's wealthiest. I mean, I only got air conditioning like a couple of years ago, and I don't know how the fuck I would live without it because like it's getting hotter every year. And then the last thing that sort of separates him from, you know, the Kim Jong-uns and such, as if the rest didn't, was when asked why he didn't want his portrait displayed everywhere, he said that there were already 7 million Thomas Sankaras, which means the people of Burkina Faso. It had a population of about 7 million.
Damn.
So just to go back to the Pan-Africanism thing, some of the specific policies in regard to Burkina Faso's struggle for liberation and the greater Pan-African movement. Sankara strongly rejected neocolonialism, called on African nations to repudiate foreign debt, recognized that the poor and exploited had no obligation to repay the wealthy colonial regimes that had enslaved them. And he was focused on autonomy for African nations, found ways around dependence on foreign aid, such as the IMF and the World Bank, and he advocated for mutual aid through what was called the African Development Bank. And in 1983, at the General Assembly of the United Nations, he said, "Others have noted this before me, and yet others will say after me, how broad the gap now is between the rich peoples and those that aspire only to have enough to eat, enough to drink, to survive and to defend their dignity. But nobody could believe how much of the food of our people has gone to feed the rich man's cow." I was talking about the 1987 speech. There is video of that online, and I encourage fucking everybody to watch it. I think it was called The Speech Against Debt. In that speech, he said, "Under its current form, controlled and dominated by imperialism, debt is a skillfully managed reconquest of Africa, intended to subjugate its growth and development through foreign rules. Thus, each one of us becomes the financial slave, which is to say, a true slave, of those who had been treacherous enough to put money in our countries with obligations for us to repay." He also said, "There is a struggle, and its intensification is worrying to those with financial power. Now we are asked to be accomplices in a balancing favoring those with the financial power, a balancing against the popular masses. No, we cannot be accomplices. No, we cannot go with those who suck our people's blood and live on our people's sweat. We cannot follow them in their murderous ways." It's a very fucking powerful speech.
Gonna say fuck yeah to that.
Yeah, fuck yeah.
Fuck yeah, comrade.
And it was very likely that speech that resulted in his assassination, because other heads of state representing African nations that showed up to that conference were not happy with Thomas Sankara. And behind the scenes, Burkinabe officials had been forging ties with French neocolonial powers, and Blaise Compaoré started to try and create a wedge between Sankara and the people of Burkina Faso, claiming that Sankara was depriving the Burkinabes of wealth by refusing to conduct business in a manner that was subservient to and profitable for the French colonial powers. And so this insurrection was backed by French intel and the FOCAR network, which was, in my notes, I put like a link to the visualization that I showed you guys. And that network essentially still controlled the majority of the African budget. And so what happened in Burkina Faso was that the administration was basically split into factions, those who supported Sankara and those who supported Blaise Compaoré, who was actually in charge of the army, which is another reason why I don't necessarily, I guess I would say I don't blame Sankara for like not, properly training his men or whatever. It really wasn't supposed to be his job. So on October 15th, 1987, Sankara was assassinated by a group of armed men led by Captain Gilbert Diendere, which was a relative of Blaise Compaoré. And this account comes from the only person who survived the fucking storm of bullets that was cast upon these fucking innocent people. Thomas Sankara was interrupted while leading a work meeting, and he told everybody else, like, stay here, it's cool, they're looking for me, they're not looking for you. And he walked through the open doorway with his hands up, and the militia just sprayed Sankara's body with bullets and went on to shoot everybody else in the room. And of the 13 people present, only one person would survive, which was Alona Torre, which is how we know that this happened. Sankara was hurriedly dismembered and buried in an unmarked grave in Ouagadougou. His widow, Miriam, and his 2 children had to flee the country.
That's like some Rasputin shit.
Yeah, it's really fucked. It's like a really fucked up, sad. I really, there's nothing good that I can say about it. It's just fucked, and it made, like, doing this research, like, I actually felt like I fucking knew the guy, and it's heartbreaking. Like, it's just heartbreaking. It's not just me. It was fucking, I'm gonna get to it, but it's like, this impacted people all over the place.
Also a lot more heartbreaking than Rasputin.
And they didn't have to try to kill him quite as many times as they had to try and kill Rasputin.
Honestly, like, the amount of times they tried to kill him was, like, hilarious.
I mean, Sankara was like Castro in that he didn't go to extreme lengths to try and protect himself from the people who were his comrades. Like, Castro had to protect himself from the fucking CIA. Sankara didn't think that it was going to be his best friend that would fucking stab him in the back like that. But
right? It's so, God, there's so much there.
But yeah, so
honestly, the only real difference is that, like, Fidel's comrades didn't, like, spray him with bullets.
Blaise Compaoré appointed himself as president immediately thereafter, quickly instituted what he called the rectification of the revolution, and he just slandered Sankara. Tried to shake off responsibility for Sankara's death by claiming that Sankara was plotting to get rid of him, and so he needed to prevent that by having Sankara killed first. And he said that Sankara had enriched himself over the course of his presidency and ruined the nation's relationships with colonial powers and the exceedingly wealthy Ivory Coast, propagating the belief that Burkinabés were necessarily dependent upon the colonizers for their own development. Like, the whole spirit of the Sankara presidency was that these historically oppressed, indebted people were finally able to organize and become something of themselves and be able to fucking blossom. And Blaise Compaoré immediately tried to clamp down on that. He rejoined the IMF and the World Bank and initiated reversal of essentially all of Sankara's policy. And he had all documentation of Sankara's presidency destroyed, at least all that he could find, which is likely the reason some of these details are so hard to parse out. And he remained president of Burkina Faso until 2014, when he was forced out in a popular uprising, and he actually had to flee to the Ivory Coast because he's a fucking bourgeois decadence son of a bitch.
Good riddance.
Yeah, good riddance. Actually, I think now there is a what's it called?
Warrant?
Yes.
Bounty?
There's a warrant out for.
We'll just keep guessing random legal phrases.
Torch?
Yeah, there's a I don't know, whatever that is. There's one out for Blaise Compaoré for the murder of Sankara.
Who issued the warrant?
The current administration of Burkina Faso that sort of came in to fill the vacuum
after Blaise Compaoré hit the
was
road.
forced out. Yeah. But just some eerie details. 1 week before his death, Sankara declared, "While revolutionaries as individuals can be murdered, you cannot kill revolutionary ideas," even though Compaoré obviously tried to. And at that 1987 conference at the OAU, he asked other heads of state to stand in solidarity with him in refusing to pay off the debts to the north as to avoid being assassinated individually. That was actually what he said. He said, "If Burkina Faso is the only one to refuse, I won't be at the next conference." So I think he fucking knew that
the jig was up.
Well, not that the jig was up, but just that he knew that what he was doing could potentially kill him. Like, he was that devoted to the cause and to his people that he very much put his own life at risk. I just don't think he knew where the threat was coming from, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Like Che Guevara, Sankara lived to the age of 39, way too fucking young. And it was reported that throughout Africa and France, citizens were sobbing in the streets because this guy was so fucking beloved. And I feel like I have to go over some of the criticisms of Sankara because he has, as all revolutionaries have, been heavily criticized for the manner in which he uprooted colonial power dynamics. But a couple of points I feel like are kind of valid, and I will cover those. One being that most of the political material, the discourse, broadcasts, and speeches were conducted in French, which did kind of leave some of the indigenous peasantry out of the loop, as like in other revolutions gained popular support through like agitprop, educational pamphlets, mailers, Mao's Little Red Book, for instance, to build rapport with the peasantry. Excuse me. But when Sankara took power, Burkina Faso was almost entirely illiterate. And so like this kind of ties into the second critique that I'm going to cover. I would say that at that time, the former tribal leaders would not have been viable liaison between the Sankara administration and the masses because of the obvious direct conflicts of interest and resentment. It's very hard to come up with like a solution to this. All I could really think of was like maybe he could have established committees for translating and disseminating like the pertinent material, but it would have taken a lot of money and resources to get like radio towers or anything in the super rural parts of Burkina Faso. So it would have been an operation, and they didn't really have a whole lot to pull from, especially early on. And the second one was that there was a teacher strike closer to the end of the administration, and especially given how like he denounced the Military Committee for Reform and Military Progress in 1982 for their antagonistic stance toward unions that led to him resigning from that early position that he held. I feel like he could have possibly handled it a little better.
Did he basically say that the teachers were holding the country hostage?
No. So what happened was, I guess there were no opposition parties. So unless there was like a model to organize within the party, there wasn't really a way to unionize. And so a bunch of teachers basically just went on strike. And since he paid all of his civil servants the same salary, like there wasn't really much that he could do. But what he decided on was he established what was called the Revolutionary Teachers Program and invited anybody with a college degree to participate in what ended up being a mere 10-day training program. And this mass dismissal of other educators who were unwilling to teach, combined with the not enough of an influx of new teachers, was like a pretty significant blow to the education system after like a period of major success with increasing literacy and attendance. And it was like a stain on Sankara's reputation. It was one of the other things that allowed Blaise Compaoré to turn people against Sankara when he was giving that speech to the OAU. But I think these issues are connected in that obviously if you have an illiterate population, you can't really radicalize them with reading material. But in addition to that, like Sankara was pushing for reforms that contradicted with elements of the social hierarchy under colonial rule. Like the people who had status when the sort of remote control of French leadership was still in place, it was like, you know, the scholars and the priests, and there was still a caste system, I guess. And of course the tribal leaders. The people like weren't. It was just too much. Too many changes happened over too short of a period of time that changed those long-standing social hierarchies, I think. But really, if the critique of Sankara, his character defect was also a character asset in that he was impatient and he wanted things to change, and he wasn't really willing to make concessions if it meant that people were going to suffer. And the French education system, or the education system that had been established under the French meritocracy, was not equipped to fully accommodate the needs of the indigenous Burkinabe peasantry. And I think this actually does mirror one of the primary issues that was faced by the early Soviet administration, was trying to incorporate the peasantry and the proletariat into like a single organized, basically a class of people, a class of people that would become the only class.
Hot take, but even though I understand the context of the decision that was made to do so, not the best idea to give all of the peasantry private property when you could have just like not commodified that.
Well, he didn't. He didn't give them private property.
No, I was talking about Lenin.
Okay, yeah, you're right. Yes, yeah.
Sorry, I should have been more specific about that.
No biggie. So I'm just gonna say a few things in closing, or I guess I'm just gonna pull a short excerpt from one source. For Sankara, racial, gender, ecological, epistemic, food, and economic justice were intrinsically connected. Revolutionary projects are therefore necessarily holistic. There would be no end to hunger without an end to imperialism. There would be no revolution without an end to women's oppression, he said. There would be no end to deforestation without an emancipatory educational system that recenters values drawing from the indigenous political orientation of Burkindalum, which fostered self-respect, pride, and honesty. In one of the sources I used for this was the podcast episode from Rev Left. It was an interview with Comrade Slasher from Nigeria, and he said something that stuck with me. When you don't have to look for food, you're free to do things that are characteristically human. That's it. I don't know, it resonates.
Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot.
And I also think, like I said, watching the full speech at the OAU, the translated speech, obviously, I just think it demonstrates Sankara's intelligence, his optimism, his audacity, his humility. The Upright Man was just a fantastic documentary. Like, it's pretty short. It's on YouTube. Fucking watch it.
What's it called again?
The Upright Man.
Okay.
Also, I assume Sankara would agree, but fuck the meritocracy.
Yeah. Oh, hell yeah. But it is kind of like he wouldn't have gotten where he was if he hadn't gotten educated. But at the same time, you know, he was the good kind of class traitor. Like, he could have done what Blaze did and taken everything for himself, but he basically lived exactly the same way as his constituents. Like, there's almost I really can't fucking say anything bad about this dude. Like, aside from the couple of criticisms that I just talked about, he was just such a solid fucking guy. I want to give this quote. I'd rather take one step with the people than 10 steps without them.
Hell yeah.
You like it. The militancy.
And I also have in my notes the lyrics for the Burkina Faso anthem, which he originally wrote the song with the title of One Single Night, but it was adopted into the Constitution as the anthem of the victory. It's like very uplifting, and he doesn't like talk about himself in the song, so.
And humble.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah.
Sounds like a mensch.
It's weird. Like, I get kind of emotional about it, because if things had just gone a little bit fucking differently, like, these people could be free. You know what I mean?
Free from the tentacles of the IMF.
Yes.
And, like, that could have sparked other revolutions throughout Africa that saw freedom in a similar vein. And, like, just this fucking douchebag's selfish need to be powerful and literally led him to kill his best fucking friend.
Right?
Like...
Does that mean I have to worry about potentially one of you killing me at some point if this trajectory holds?
I don't know. It depends on, like, how much... Well... I'm not... No. I'm just going to say no.
I was expecting a no.
No.
Not no, but with a caveat. I was expecting no.
No, you're safe. You're safe. You don't gotta worry about me.
I want this narrative deep dive into the psyche.
We'll see what happens, Joe.
Bowery. I want to know why he did it. I want to know what his influences were, how he grew up.
His influences were American capital, and
it wasn't American capital so much as just like
capitalism,
capital in general, and the desire to rule.
It was the French Empire, which is, I mean, tied into the other empires.
Fuck them.
But, like, specifically, like, the Ivory Coast, the Côte d'Ivoire, or whatever.
Côte d'Ivoire, yeah.
Fucking
where all the
garbage.
exploitation that happens and, like, the fucking diamond mines and shit are.
They have access to slave labor, and they don't want to get it, basically. And if they can use a Burkinabe to take advantage of the rest of the Burkinabes, they don't give a fuck. And if it happens to be Blaze, it happens to be Blaze. Like, could have been anybody. But there was only one Thomas Sankara. You know what I mean? So yeah, that is the life, death, and legacy of Thomas Sankara. Rest in power, comrade. Fucking
hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
You know, you don't see enough of those kind of class traders. You really don't.
It's true. They all become, like, artists or some shit.
He was an artist.
They don't always take power of nations and try to liberate the proletariat.
It's true, you don't see that very often.
Yeah. I'll just make a bunch of paintings, which, you know, does enrich our culture, but still.
Yo, George Bush apparently is going to put out a book of a bunch of portraits of fucking douchebags.
His depressed portraits of world leaders. God.
He's not like a bad artist. He's just an asshole.
That's putting it nicely, though.
He's no young Hitler, that's for sure.
He's like a fuzzy Bob Ross that, like, you know, got drunk with power when he wasn't actually drunk.
Bob Ross is like the antithesis of George W. Bush. Bob Ross was a good fucking guy.
I would like to see George Bush try and do like here you're gonna draw your tree. Gonna put some leaves on there.
It needs a friend. We'll give it a happy little cloud.
That was actually what I was trying to provoke when I compared him to Bob Ross.
Which part of him was fuzzy? Because Bob Ross seems fuzzier.
No, I mean, like, he looks fuzzy. At least now he does.
Did he grow a beard?
His hair's kind of gotten all kind of weird and
like scruffy, maybe, or
yeah.
I'm just gonna look at him.
Like he has like a head. He has like a head beard.
Head beard. It's called hair.
Are we talking about George W. Bush? He's got a head. He's got a head beard.
A head beard.
Hair beard.
I don't know what accent I was going for there. Are we still gonna do my thing?
What was your thing?
That tells you what to watch.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
The 5-second thing.
And cue.
Comrade Scott tells you what to watch.
1,000, 2, 1,000.
No, that's where in post I'm going to put in the thing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's not literally going to just be 5 seconds. It's just going to be relatively short.
All right.
No, I know.
Prove
I
it.
was joking. I like relatively short. That works.
Do it.
Because for the first week, I actually wanted to cheat and recommend 3 things.
Do the thing.
Well, for one, I want to recommend the new Bill and Ted. It's actually good. It's funny. It's
What's
not
the
great.
full name of the movie?
Bill and Ted Face the Music. Also, I'm going to recommend Pirate Everything You Watch. And then I watched Class Action Park, which is a documentary about the theme park action park, which is very good. But I want to recommend Defy of Bloods in light of Chadwick Boseman's death. It's a very good movie. It's one of the best Spike Lee movies in a while. And that's it. That's what you should watch.
And cue. I don't have like a jingle for that yet, but I'll make one.
For the end of it, too?
Yeah.
Is
Why not?
my segment going to get an end jingle? No, my segment doesn't need an end jingle because I say my name and what the name of the...
Nobody gets a fucking end jingle. You're all canceled.
Speaking
Music
of
is
canceled, Nagel, surprisingly, my state rep actually lost.
Oh, who? The pimp ass motherfucker who voted from jail.
Yeah. Fuck you, Nangle.
See? Hold on. Again, we see that big dick energy loses in the end.
It's true. It's kind of true.
Yeah. Smallest wins the race.
It wasn't the challenger I wanted to win, but like the fact that he lost, like I guess it's more or less acceptable.
We done it.
I'm pretty sure the person who beat him is going to be like a shill for Bob DeLeo, but like I don't know.
Jesse, before I forget, if you want a nitpicky French pronunciation correction, Sankara's dad was a gendarme.
Oh.
I think that's
all right. I will make fun of myself in post for that.
You don't have to, but you can.
A gendarme?
Gendarme, yeah. Gendarme.
Gendarme.
Yeah, that's close enough.
What did I say? Gendarme?
Gendarme.
That's what it fucking looks like, dude.
We didn't all take French. I didn't take French.
I took Latin because I'm an idiot.
All right, you guys, it's fucking midnight.
I was about to close the show. My name is Scott, and I'm actually going to let you all know where you can follow me on social media because I'm kind of lightening up. You can follow me at Death Mullet. I'm on Twitter and Instagram at that name. Joe, go.
I'm Joe. I'm here. I'm on Twitter, JLFB96. Be sure to give this podcast a like and subscribe wherever you listen to it. Jesse, go.
I'm Jesse. You can find me on SoundCloud at soundcloud.com/contingentsboston. And please make sure to hit up comrade-rosie.org for mental health and other resources in the greater Boston area.
And
Popcorn over to Ellie. Oh.
You can also get, we have a Getting Involved page now on comrade.rosie/comrade HTTP.
You know, it's Craig.
Oh,
that
no, bad.
We just talked about. You can get involved. You can do shit that is good for community. Go there and look and do the things.
Oh my god, we've been on this. We've been talking for 4 hours now.
Holy shit! I hate you guys. Not true. I love you all.
Yeah, we love you too.
Anyway, I'm Ellie. I'm Ellie, and I'm on this podcast. You're listening to me right now, and that's good because that's the place where you can hear what I have to say. That's
place,
all.
yeah.
Can we please put a clip of Joe Biden saying, like, you know, the thing at the end of this?
You know the thing. Fuck. What was that from? What was that speech? Where was that? When was that?
It's like from like the night before Super Tuesday.
Just send it to me. Send it to me in post. Send it to me and I'll put it in post.
And as always, you can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Epic Incredulity. We're also on Patreon at Epic Incredulity. We have set up tiers on Patreon. We now have a Discord. We're working on setting up some rewards for the different tiers. If you would, please check that out. That's just go onto Patreon and search for Epic Incredulity, one word, if you are are interested in that. We are also on YouTube.
For $1 a month.
That's right.
We're not charging a lot, so
For $5.
we're keeping it low.
Yeah.
For $5, you can get extras if you're interested. We're also on YouTube. Our last week's episode is premiering in a couple minutes. And as always,
we're recording this.
as when we are recording this, when that is, we will keep that as a mysterious time and place and space.
By the time you hear this, it'll probably be up, so go look at it.
All you should know is that we've been talking for 4 hours and we're getting a little insane.
I don't know about you, but I feel kind of fine.
Of course you fucking do.
Yeah.
God damn it.
God damn it, Joe.
See, Joe took the fact that this kind of like shitty politician lost and was like, well, the guy who won probably also sucks. So, you know, he looked for the positivity in that situation, but now he just feels chipper as always. And that's just good to hear. And that's your fucking need. Jesus Christ, Jen, the show.
To get on that Craig.
We talked about Craig in the last episode, and we never fucking explained who Craig is.
You don't have
Craig
to.
is a mysterious fellow.
mystery.
He's a friend.
He's a
Craig is friend of the pod.
We hold these truths to be self-evident. All men and women created by you know the thing.